okay.
Maybe 3 years.
But you said, so when she first got hired, there was some hubbub
Well, no,
about
I was just shocked that, like, it was still, I didn't have any idea until, like, 2 years later. So it was really quiet, but not hidden, but not talked about.
Yeah. That kind of ambiguous space of, like, everybody knows, but people aren't necessarily talking about it, or a lot of people know, but aren't necessarily saying anything. Yeah.
Right.
That's interesting.
And she's not active with Educate, and you know, and I think that's on purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had met her last summer. I was at the high school talking with a couple people, and they introduced me to her and told her about the group and such, and she was positive about it and said, "That's a great thing. Keep me in touch about it." And
right, exactly. Her identity is very much so.
Yeah.
That's a separate thing over there.
Yeah.
Not coming into school.
Yeah, and that's no criticism of her in any way, shape,
I understand.
or form.
That's just, I know that we had a teacher that left last year.
Yeah.
That was gay, and that didn't feel like he could ever be openly gay, and he had a very serious relationship.
Yeah.
And so he moved to Birmingham.
Yeah.
Where he felt like it was more open.
Mm-hmm. Was he a relatively new teacher, pre-tenure?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was. He was a very popular teacher.
Yeah.
Even with the administration, but in his eyes, if they knew he was gay, it would have been problematic.
Yeah, I hear that.
Like he had a different Facebook name, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, Birmingham is, even in the relative world of Alabama, Birmingham is very, very different.
Right.
So,
right. I just is.
Yeah.
So.
Well, are there, maybe the other thing I wanted to ask about is, like, in teaching, I know that you've got clear signals in your classroom around the flag, or, like the rainbow A.
The Ray banner, yeah.
All of those different things. Do you broach topics around LGBTQ identities in your classroom teaching, or is that not something you do?
If it comes up, naturally, it's not something that I broach. I mean, in debate, certainly.
Yeah.
We argue about everything.
Yeah.
In government, there are times where, because of Supreme Court cases or various things, I'll on purpose pick a Supreme Court case that I know is going to deal with this issue.
Yeah.
And I think that's to find a way to get it into the conversation.
Yeah.
On purpose.
Yeah. What have your experiences been like in that context? Because, for example, teaching a required government class is a lot different than the optional club that students choose to attend. So
it just has to be. You just have to. I mean, it's really easy if you just do it legally. If you just teach the law behind it, and how it's just discrimination. Mm-hmm. And so when you do that, people like this kid that I had now. I had no idea people so had me in a box like that just because of the flag.
Yeah.
But it's still a part of our world, and it's part of our interaction, and they need to understand that you can't. It's not okay to discriminate against people for any reason.
Yeah.
And government is an uphill battle to teach.
Yeah. In what way?
In just that we have a lot of really conservative kids, and because I don't teach AP, I teach the core group.
Yeah.
A lot of these kids believe what their parents believe, and it's just hard. It's just a constant balancing act of being honest to who I am.
Yeah.
But also just respecting kids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Respecting them.
Have you felt that that's changed over your 13 years at the high school? particularly, say, in the last 4 years, or do you feel that struggle's been pretty consistent and looked the same throughout?
Well, it's been interesting. I think a lot of it has been dependent on what I've taught.
Yeah.
So when I was hired there, I taught IB and AP, and it was just much easier. And then I never taught any core classes.
Yeah.
And then I taught debate, which is an elective.
Yep.
And then, so this is going to be my third year teaching a core class.
Yeah, so you don't have that same long-term
I don't really know if it changed, over the population. I know it's changed, but I've just considered it the population I'm teaching.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I know I asked you a whole bunch of questions. Are there any questions that you thought I should have asked, or anything else that maybe we didn't get to talk about that you think is important or you wanted to share?
No, I'd love to know if you hear from parents or people that are at the university level about, I hope our reputation as a group continues to grow and be a good one. And I would hope if there were things that you see that need to be done differently, you would feel free to share with us, that we wouldn't take it as, even a criticism. It would be how to help you be better.
And do you mean with like the teachers in our educator group, or do you mean like Auburn City Schools?
No, like in Auburn City, in our classroom, in our group.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, and I always try to, and I do try to walk a fine line with that. Like,
it's gotta be hard.
Well, the last thing I want to do is be the person who is the Midwesterner with the PhD who shows up, and I also like look younger, generally, and to pretend to show up and just tell people what they should do. Hey, let me tell you this, okay? Like, I know better than you do. Partially, like, I think that's just really dehumanizing to people. The other part is, I think it feels dishonest to me, because I really do respect and value teachers as intellectuals and as professionals. And one of my biggest concerns is that there has been a large push. I mean, really, I think we're talking decades. Like, we go back to the Nation at Risk stuff with Reagan. Like, there's been a continual political push to deprofessionalize teachers, and to treat them as people who carry out what other people say, as opposed to experts about kids and communities and content that know how to make the best decisions. And so one of my real strong beliefs, and this is also why I try to approach the teacher group the way that I do, is that I want to be in dialogue and conversation with people.
Right.
It's like the question around race that I asked earlier. I'm like, I do not know the answer to that, but I do believe that it's worth asking, and I do think that if all of us are engaged in an ongoing conversation, that we can try to learn about that together.
Right. I mean, I would be curious to see what other people answer, because I definitely know it's there.
Yeah.
I just don't know. I don't know how to even start the conversation to make it better.
And that's the biggest answer I'm hearing so far. And I've only talked to a couple people, but to me that's a signal of like, okay. And I'll be honest. I mean, I wrote a book or 2 books or whatever. And I don't know, like a bunch of words that we're just trying to figure out and make sense of it, so that we can try to make things better for kids. And so I'm always happy to be in dialogue and to say what I think. But I'm also cognizant of like other things where I'm like, just other dynamics, and want to be in relationships with people across time, and don't want to simplify complex problems and pretend that like,
here's the answer to this.
It's like lesson plans. Like, I don't. Yeah. I don't think that the way that we help teachers is by writing lesson plans for them and telling them this is the best way. Like, We're not going to help.
Yeah, everyone has to find their own way.
Yeah. Like, I'm not going to be like, I'm just going to write you 10 queer